Well, Australia's rugby team had a pretty bad year in 2018. It's unfortunate to see the Wallabies have their worst year since 1958, unless you're from New Zealand, but it's especially bad when you consider that in 2015's Rugby World Cup final, they were the team we beat. When Michael Cheika first took over, things looked promising, especially since they had an unbeaten run at the World Cup prior to the final, knocking England out of their own World Cup. Australia had Cheika take charge at the end of 2014, and under him, they have only lost 2 of their 12 tests during 2015, including that World Cup final. The thing is though, there was no way Cheika's winning ways were going to last very long. Sure, the retirement of Stephen Moore and injury to Tavita Kuridrani didn't help, but rugby in Australia is in a pretty bad place nationwide. At the time of recording this, Cheika's win percentage with the Wallabies is statistically the worst of any Australian coach in history, with it currently sitting at 48.3%. Sure, he's not the best coach running around world rugby, but he did win Coach of the Year in 2015, so the problem is clearly out of Cheika's control. If you want to see why, let's head down to Super Rugby. Australia has 4 Super Rugby teams currently in the competition. 3 of their coaches, however, weren't even born in Australia. The exception is Dan McKellar, currently in charge of the Brumbies. From a Kiwi's perspective, it's pretty funny, not just because only one of the 4 head coaches was born in Australia, but also because only one Australian team made the playoffs in 2018 Super Rugby season, and if the conference system wasn't an utter mess, none would have made it to the playoffs in 2017 as the Blues had more competition points than the Brumbies. The Waratahs had a good season in 2018, probably because Israel Folau's in the team, but let's look even further beyond Super Rugby. Australia's provincial competition, the NRC, has a Fijian team named the Fijian Drua in the competition. I don't watch this competition as I'm not from Australia, but I did the research, and the Fijian Drua, who were only founded in 2017, actually won the competition in 2018. Yes, you got that right. The best rugby team in Australia isn't from Australia. I don't know why this is, or how well the Fijian Drua went to the regular season, but they fair and square won the final against Queensland by 36-26. Not only that, but the final held the record attendance of the season of just 6,000 people, and it was also held in Fiji. Now that we can delve even deeper into this problem, this brings us to the roots, the grassroots level. Because rugby isn't Australia's national sport, rugby isn't played by many teams at the grassroots level. Not only that, but a man I know who comes from Australia tells me that in Brisbane, only the private schools play rugby. In public schools, everyone just plays other sports. He tells me that the most popular sports in Australia are football, Aussie rules football, rugby league, and then rugby comes a very distant 4th. So now that we've gone deep down, this problem with Australian rugby is clearly out of Cheika's control, and so he has to get the Wallabies to perform as well as possible, despite the fact that he has a tiny depth pool compared to New Zealand, even though the country's population is larger by 19 million. The problem with Australian rugby is completely out of Cheika's control, and I personally don't think sacking him will help them out. Even though Brad Thorne is a better coach and Cheika's win percentage is poor, if Thorne was to take over now, nothing would change. Raylene Castle is the head of Rugby Australia, so naturally, she's choose to do the logical thing and solve the problem by investing a large amount of money into getting young kids into rugby, so that gradually over time, Australian rugby can grow stronger and at least attempts to get back to the strength that they had in the 1990s and early 2000s. But no! Castle instead chooses to waste the money on re-signing the Wallabies captain, Michael Hooper, on a deal extending all the way until the end of 2023's Rugby World Cup. I'm sorry, but this is just pathetic. To me, Hooper is the embodiment of everything wrong with Australian rugby. He's English. His father was literally born in Kent, and I can still hear traces of English in Hooper's accent. Hooper, after being born in Sydney, made his debut for the Wallabies when he was only 20 years old, in 2012. He's still only 27 now, and he took over as their captain when he was still 25. Hooper has also accumulated a laughable 89 tests since his debut already. If this man was from any other country, a 27-year-old with 89 tests would be absolutely incredible. But no. Michael Hooper's number of tests proves nothing to me about his actual individual skill as a player. It only proves to me that Australian rugby has no depth. I don't think that Hooper, or basically any current Wallaby for that matter, would even get an All Black cap in their whole career in the event that they were eligible. The only Wallabies I think would be good enough, or near good enough to make the All Blacks would be Israel Folau, Sekope Kepu, Taniela Tupou, and Tevita Kuridrani. And because of this, I think that the worst is far from behind the Wallabies. Think about it. Australia's key players. Most of them are older than 25 years old and are approaching 30 very, very fast. They literally just recalled Adam Ashley Cooper and he's past it. No New Zealander would keep on going for the All Blacks as a soon-to-be 35-year-old outside back. Let's have a look at some of their key players. Tarufu Polota-Nau, Sekope Kepu, David Pocock, Michael Hooper, Taniela Tupou, Reece Hodge, Tevita Kuridrani, Bernard Foley, Will Genia, Israel Folau, Dane Haylett-Petty and Kurtley Beale. 7 of those 12 players I just listed are either 30 already, or will be 30 by the next World Cup. And what's underneath them? Apart from Hodge, Tupou, and Alan Alalatawa, none of the players currently younger than 35 are fit to even clean the boots of the players they will succeed, let alone fill them. And yet Will Genia wouldn't make the All Blacks. All jokes aside though, it's really sad to see the state of the Wallabies. The likes of Kurtley Beale and Will Genia, despite being 30 years old, could easily go on to feature in the 2023 Rugby World Cup, because there just isn't anything underneath them to fill their boots when they retire. It's so sad to see this happening to Australia, and as far as I can see, their doom's to get even worse. It's a horrible, vicious cycle where it appears athletes won't play rugby at grassroots level, as their national team isn't having success right now, but the country is suffering internationally for the same reason. It really isn't good to see. Back in the day, the Bledisloe Cup was a legitimate competition drawing crowds around the world, but the last time the Wallabies won the trophy, Auckland's average house price was reportedly less than $400,000. I still hadn't hit puberty, and Brian O'Driscoll was still playing rugby. I remember when I was a kid, and my dad used to be scared of losing to the Wallabies. Now, I joke to him over the phone and in internet's comment sections that Fiji will probably knock them out of the 2019 Rugby World Cup. So, speaking of comment sections, make sure to drop one in response to this video and share your thoughts with me about your views on the state of Australian rugby, because I'd really like to hear your thoughts, Australians, on how Raelene Castle can fix Australian rugby, or if you think she can. This wasn't an easy topic for me to cover, as it's a sad one, hence the many jokes to lighten up the video. If you want to hear more rugby content from me, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel, so you can see when my next video comes out. Thanks very much and have a great day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!